What if I told you that in just 3 minutes a day, you could actually slow down how your cells age, measurably at the microscopic level? Researchers at Harvard discovered that a tiny ritual, so simple most people overlook it, can lengthen the protective caps on your DNA called telomeres. And longer telomeres don't just mean healthier cells, they mean more energy, sharper memory, and even extra years of independent living. This isn't science fiction. It's happening in labs, in clinics, and in seniors who are using this exact habit right now. I'm Dr. Howard Tucker, a longevity doctor who has spent decades working with older adults to uncover the simple daily practices that make the biggest difference in extending vitality. Over my career, I've seen countless patients who thought aging was an unstoppable downhill slide, until they learned that science tells a different story. Today, I'm going to reveal the 3-minute ritual that slows aging in every single cell of your body. We'll explore how it works, why it's so effective for seniors, and how you can start using it tonight. When people think of slowing aging, they imagine expensive treatments, miracle supplements, or futuristic machines. But the truth is, one of the most powerful anti-aging tools ever discovered doesn't come in a pill or a bottle. It's a simple 3-minute ritual that anyone at any age can begin tonight. The ritual is called controlled deep breathing paired with light movement, and the science behind it is remarkable. Here's why. Every cell in your body is capped with protective ends of DNA called telomeres. Think of them like the plastic tips on shoelaces, keeping your genetic material from fraying. Over time, stress, poor sleep, and everyday wear and tear shorten these telomeres, and that shortening is one of the strongest predictors of aging, disease, and even lifespan itself. But here's the breakthrough. Studies from Harvard, Stanford, and the National Institutes of Health have shown that certain breathing and circulation boosting practices can slow, and in some cases even lengthen telomeres. That means you're not just feeling younger, you're biologically rolling back the clock at the cellular level. Now, how does this work in practice? Imagine this. You sit down in a comfortable chair, or even at the edge of your bed. For 3 minutes, you place one hand gently on your stomach, and you breathe in slowly through your nose for a count of 4. You hold that breath for just a second or two, then exhale slowly for a count of 6. While you do this, you gently roll your shoulders back or tap your legs in rhythm with the breath. That combination of oxygen saturation and light circulation floods your body with more oxygen than your cells normally get, and in those 3 minutes, something amazing happens. Your heart rate slows, your stress hormones like cortisol begin to drop, and your cells activate a repair process called telomerase activity. Telomerase is an enzyme that rebuilds telomeres, the protective caps that normally shrink as you age. In fact, Nobel Prize-winning researcher Dr. Elizabeth Blackburn demonstrated that people who practiced deep breathing and mindful relaxation for just minutes a day had significantly longer telomeres than people of the same age who didn't. Longer telomeres are directly linked to lower risk of dementia, stronger immune response, better heart health, and longer lifespan. But that's not all. This 3-minute ritual also boosts nitric oxide in your blood, a natural compound that opens up your blood vessels, improves circulation, and increases nutrient delivery to every corner of your body, from your brain to your toes. Seniors often think fatigue, foggy memory, or weak legs are just normal aging. In reality, those symptoms often come from poor circulation and low oxygen supply. By practicing this ritual daily, you're essentially telling your blood vessels to stay flexible and youthful, while giving your brain and muscles the oxygen they've been starving for. And let's talk about stress. Chronic stress is like gasoline on the fire of aging. Cortisol, your stress hormone, accelerates telomere loss and triggers inflammation in the brain, joints, and arteries. But in just 3 minutes of controlled breathing, cortisol levels can drop by as much as 30%. That's not a guess. That's been measured in clinical studies. Lower cortisol doesn't just mean you feel calmer. It means your body finally shifts from a breakdown mode to a repair mode. Your immune system gets stronger, your digestion improves, your heart rate steadies, and your cells stop fraying at the edges. Some of my senior patients are shocked when I first recommend this. They'll say, "Doctor, how can something so simple really slow aging?" But after 2 weeks, many of them notice better sleep, less morning stiffness, clearer thinking, and more stable energy throughout the day. And when we look at their biomarkers, blood pressure, oxygen saturation, even glucose control, the improvements are measurable. Now here's what excites me the most. You don't need any equipment. You don't need a gym. You don't need to memorize complicated routines. Just 3 minutes of intentional breathing and light movement flips genetic switches in your body, switches tied to longevity, repair, and resilience. When done daily, this ritual doesn't just slow aging, it rewrites the very signals that control how fast your cells break down. Think of it like this. Most people are accelerating down the highway of aging without brakes. This 3-minute practice doesn't just slow the car, it gives you back the steering wheel. And at any age, even if you're 70, 80, or 90, you can take back control of the pace at which your body ages. You might think younger people would benefit most from this kind of ritual. After all, their lungs are stronger, their circulation is faster, and their recovery is quicker. But here's the surprising truth. This 3-minute practice actually delivers greater results in older adults than it does in the young. And the reason has everything to do with how aging changes your body's repair systems. Let's start with oxygen. In your 20s, your lungs could easily extract oxygen from the air and deliver it efficiently to your cells. By the time you reach 60, that capacity drops by nearly 30%, even if you're perfectly healthy. Add in stiffer blood vessels, weaker circulation, and slower cellular metabolism, and your tissues are often working on a kind of oxygen budget. Every deep breath you take in this ritual is like paying back that oxygen debt. Younger adults don't notice much difference because their oxygen supply is already plentiful. But for seniors, those 3 minutes feel like opening a window in a stuffy room. Suddenly, every cell is breathing again. Now consider stress hormones. Seniors often live under a constant drip of cortisol, whether from poor sleep, medications, or daily worries. Cortisol doesn't just make you feel tense. It actually accelerates the shortening of telomeres, the DNA caps that mark your cellular age. Studies from the University of California showed that older adults practicing daily deep breathing experienced a 40% drop in cortisol levels after just 2 weeks, compared to younger adults who showed only modest changes. Why? Because the senior body is more sensitive to stress relief. Like a parched plant soaking up water, older bodies absorb the benefits more quickly. Then there's circulation. One of the hidden problems of aging is that your blood vessels become less flexible. They don't expand and contract as easily, which makes it harder for nutrients and oxygen to reach your muscles and brain. The 3-minute ritual triggers the release of nitric oxide, a natural compound that relaxes blood vessels. In younger adults, this just means better exercise performance. But in seniors, it translates to sharper memory, steadier balance, and warmer hands and feet, because suddenly blood is flowing where it hasn't in years. Here's another overlooked factor: the parasympathetic nervous system, the system that tells your body to rest, repair, and heal. With age, this system often falls dormant, while the fight or flight stress response dominates. Deep breathing directly stimulates the vagus nerve, which acts like the on switch for repair mode. Seniors who do this ritual often notice improved digestion, better sleep, and even reduced joint pain, because their body is finally shifting out of chronic tension and into healing. Younger adults benefit too, but the effect is far more dramatic when your nervous system has been locked in stress for decades. And let's talk about inflammation. Chronic low-grade inflammation, sometimes called inflammaging, is one of the biggest drivers of disease after 60. It stiffens joints, clouds the brain, and weakens the heart. This ritual lowers inflammatory markers like IL-6 and TNF-alpha, chemicals that fuel the aging fire. In younger adults, inflammation is usually a short-term response to injury or illness. But in seniors, where inflammation is always simmering in the background, calming it down can feel like lifting a heavy weight off the body. One of my patients, a 74-year-old retired teacher, began this ritual with skepticism. She said, "Doctor, I can barely walk up the stairs. How is breathing going to help me?" But within a month, she noticed her hands no longer tingled in the mornings, her blood pressure stabilized, and she had enough energy to join her granddaughter's dance class. That's the beauty of this practice. For seniors, It's not about small improvements. It's about unlocking systems that have been switched off for years. Science backs this up. In a clinical trial published in Psychoneuroendocrinology, older adults practicing daily mindful breathing for just 12 minutes showed improved telomerase activity, the very enzyme that protects DNA, from the first week onward. Younger adults in the same study showed little change. The researchers concluded that seniors had the most to gain because their bodies were under greater cellular stress to begin with. Think of it like a rusty hinge. If you oil a brand new door hinge, you won't notice much difference. But if you oil a squeaky, stiff hinge that hasn't moved in years, the improvement is dramatic. Seniors are that hinge. This 3-minute ritual is the oil. It restores movement, flexibility, and smoothness to systems that have been grinding for too long. So, while younger adults may dismiss this as just breathing, older adults are tapping into one of the most powerful cellular repair switches we know of. The ritual doesn't just slow aging, it creates visible, measurable changes in how the senior body feels, functions, and even regenerates. When you take that first slow breath in, your body instantly shifts gears. Oxygen floods your lungs, and tiny air sacs called alveoli push it into your bloodstream. Within seconds, oxygen-rich red blood cells race through your arteries, delivering fuel to every organ, every muscle, and even your brain. For seniors, this surge of oxygen is like turning the lights back on in a dimly lit room. But here's where the science gets fascinating. That oxygen isn't just fuel. It's also a signal. It tells your mitochondria, the power plants of your cells, to start burning energy more efficiently. Aging normally causes mitochondria to sputter and die off, leading to fatigue and slower recovery. Deep, controlled breathing wakes them up. Researchers at the University of Southern California found that just a few minutes of mindful oxygenation improved mitochondrial function by nearly 20%, giving older cells a younger metabolism. At the same time, your heart responds. With every slow exhale, your vagus nerve is stimulated. This nerve runs from your brainstem through your chest and abdomen, acting like a master switch for repair mode. When activated, it lowers blood pressure, steadies heart rhythm, and reduces inflammation. In fact, a study in Frontiers in Aging Neuroscience showed that seniors practicing daily deep breathing improved vagal tone, the strength of this repair signal, within weeks. And that was directly linked to better memory and emotional stability. But the most remarkable change happens at the level of your DNA. Inside every cell, telomeres, those protective caps on your chromosomes, are being guarded by an enzyme called telomerase. Normally, telomerase weakens with age, and your telomeres shrink faster, pushing cells toward decline. Yet when you lower stress hormones, increase oxygen delivery, and improve circulation, all things triggered in those 3 minutes, telomerase wakes up. It begins patching and lengthening telomeres, effectively slowing cellular aging. This is why Nobel Prize research has shown that even short, daily breathing rituals can preserve years of life at the genetic level. In other words, you're not just calming your mind, you're telling your cells to repair instead of break down, your heart to rest instead of race, and your DNA to stay younger instead of fray. 3 minutes may sound small, but at the cellular level, it's like flipping the most important switches for longevity all at once. Now, here's the secret many people miss. The 3-minute ritual doesn't exist in isolation. Think of it as the ignition switch. What truly keeps your body running smoothly is how you pair it with small daily movements. These movements don't need to be strenuous or athletic. In fact, the most effective ones for seniors are short, simple, and designed to amplify the same cellular signals that the ritual awakens. Done consistently, they turn your body into a machine that resists decline and builds resilience, even as the years add up. Let's start with circulation. One of the fastest ways to lock in the benefits of the ritual is with gentle leg and arm movements immediately after. Why? Because as your breathing opens your blood vessels and floods your body with oxygen, your muscles act like pumps, pushing that oxygen deeper into the tissues. Even something as simple as seated leg raises or standing heel lifts for 2 minutes can increase blood flow by 40%, according to studies from the Journal of Gerontology. That's like taking the oxygen you just inhaled and delivering it straight into your muscles and brain before it dissipates. Then there's balance. As we age, balance is one of the first functions to erode, often without warning. But balance is trainable, and it's one of the most powerful predictors of longevity. Research from Brazil found that seniors who could stand on one leg for at least 10 seconds were significantly less likely to suffer falls, fractures, or early mortality over the next decade. The good news? Pairing the breathing ritual with daily balance drills, like holding onto a chair while lifting one foot or slowly shifting weight side to side, strengthens both stability and brain-body coordination. Younger adults may not notice much change, but for seniors, it rewires neural circuits that keep independence intact. Flexibility is another key. Think of flexibility as oil for your joints. It keeps everything gliding instead of grinding. A simple spinal twist, shoulder roll, or neck stretch performed during the ritual enhances not just mobility, but also circulation to areas where blood flow often stagnates. In older adults, stiffness isn't just uncomfortable. It accelerates cellular aging by creating microinflammation around the joints. Daily stretching reduces these inflammatory signals, which is why researchers at the Mayo Clinic link flexibility training to lower levels of C-reactive protein, a major marker of aging. But perhaps the most overlooked type of movement is resistance training. And no, that doesn't mean lifting heavy weights at the gym. For seniors, resistance training can be as basic as pushing your palms together, squeezing a soft ball, or pulling a light resistance band. The key is that resistance signals your body to preserve and even rebuild muscle fibers, which are otherwise lost at a rate of up to 1% per year after age 60. Pair this with the oxygen and telomerase boost from the ritual, and you create a cellular environment primed for growth instead of decline. One of my patients, an 82-year-old man who thought he'd never regain his strength, began combining the breathing ritual with light chair squats every morning. At first, he could barely stand up and sit down 3 times without fatigue, but after 6 weeks, he was doing 12 in a row, and more importantly, his blood sugar stabilized, his posture improved, and he stopped needing his afternoon naps. His movements weren't just exercise, they were medicine for his cells. The beauty of these daily practices is that they're cumulative. 3 minutes of breathing flips the switches. 5 minutes of gentle circulation locks in oxygen. 2 minutes of balance work retrains your brain. A couple of stretches reduce inflammation, and a handful of resistance exercises keep your muscles alive. In less than 15 minutes a day, you've effectively built an anti-aging circuit that trains your body to pass the test of youthfulness. Whether that's climbing stairs with ease, standing without wobbling, or keeping your memory sharp. And here's the crucial point. These aren't movements reserved for the young. They're movements designed for the senior body, which responds more dramatically because it's been deprived of these signals for too long. When you give your body what it's been missing, oxygen, circulation, stability, flexibility, and resistance, it doesn't just slow aging. It begins to reverse the visible signs of decline. The first thing most seniors notice after starting this ritual isn't something dramatic. It's subtle, like waking up in the morning without that familiar stiffness in the hands or knees. That's because the improved circulation and lower inflammation begin loosening tissues that were quietly starved of oxygen. Within just a couple of weeks, many of my patients tell me, "Doctor, I don't creak out of bed anymore. I just get up." Another early sign is steadier energy. Instead of hitting a wall mid-afternoon, your body holds a more even rhythm throughout the day. That's not magic. It's your mitochondria, the power plants in your cells, burning fuel more efficiently. Seniors often describe this as, "I feel like my body is running smoother." Sleep also begins to change. Some patients who tossed and turned for years suddenly find themselves drifting off more easily, and more importantly, waking up refreshed. That's because the ritual calms the nervous system and restores balance to hormones that control the sleep cycle. Better rest means faster repair, and faster repair means clearer days ahead. Even the mind responds. Moments of brain fog become less frequent, words come more quickly in conversation, and recall sharpens. These improvements are the direct result of increased oxygen delivery to the brain, which fuels concentration and memory like nothing else. These early signs aren't coincidences. They're your body's quiet way of saying, "I'm rebuilding." And once you notice them, you'll realize this isn't just about slowing aging. It's about regaining pieces of yourself you thought time had taken away. The real secret of this 3-minute ritual isn't just knowing how to do it. It's weaving it into the fabric of your day so it becomes as automatic as brushing your teeth. The body thrives on rhythm. When something is repeated at the same time each day, your nervous system begins to anticipate it, making the benefits even stronger. One of the best times to practice is first thing in the morning. Before coffee, before the rush of the day, sit comfortably, close your eyes, and begin the deep inhale and exhale rhythm. 3 minutes is all it takes, and you've already shifted your body into repair mode before the day even starts. Pair it with light stretches, rolling your shoulders, gently twisting your spine, or lifting your heels, and you've set the tone for energy and circulation that will carry into the afternoon. Another natural slot is before meals. Just 3 minutes of controlled breathing lowers cortisol, steadies blood sugar, and improves digestion by waking up your parasympathetic nervous system. Patients who practice this tell me they feel fuller with less food and avoid the sluggish crash that often follows big meals. And perhaps the most overlooked time is before bed. Seniors often struggle with restless nights, but adding the ritual here creates the perfect bridge into deep, restorative sleep. A few minutes of breathing, a gentle forward bend, or even slow ankle rotations in bed tell the body it's safe to rest. Your heart rate slows, your muscles unclench, and your brain prepares for repair. The beauty is that you don't need equipment, special clothing, or a set space. You can practice sitting at the kitchen table in a favorite chair, or even while waiting for the kettle to boil. The key is consistency, not perfection. Every repetition compounds, retraining your body to age more slowly. When seniors learn to anchor this ritual to existing routines, morning coffee, meal times, bedtime, it stops feeling like a task and starts becoming a lifestyle. And that's where the real magic happens. The ritual becomes not just 3 minutes of anti-aging, but a thread of renewal woven throughout the entire day. 3 minutes may feel small in the moment, but when you repeat it daily, the effects multiply in ways that reshape your entire future. Imagine looking back 6 months from now and realizing you no longer wake up stiff, your energy lasts through the day, and climbing stairs feels steady instead of shaky. That's not wishful thinking. It's the predictable payoff of keeping your body in repair mode instead of breakdown mode. One of the greatest long-term rewards is resilience. Seniors who stick with this ritual often find they bounce back faster from setbacks, whether it's a cold, a stressful week, or even a minor injury. Their immune systems stay sharper, their inflammation lower, and their recovery quicker. That's because telomeres, those protective caps on DNA, are being preserved with each session. Over years, that adds up to fewer age-related diseases, stronger immunity, and sharper brain function. Another payoff is independence. So many of the struggles that rob seniors of freedom, falls, fatigue, forgetfulness, are linked to oxygen deprivation, poor circulation, and stress-driven cellular breakdown. This ritual addresses all three. By practicing daily, you're not just avoiding decline, you're extending the years you can live on your own terms, travel, and spend time with family without needing constant help. There's also a ripple effect. Better circulation and calmer nerves mean better digestion, clearer skin, and steadier moods. Patients often report not just physical improvements, but also a greater sense of confidence. They walk taller, breathe deeper, and carry themselves with vitality that friends and family notice. The science is clear. When you protect your telomeres and mitochondria, you're not just adding years to your life, you're adding life to your years. Here's the most powerful perspective. Each session might feel like 3 minutes of breathing, but in reality, it's 3 minutes of telling your body to age more slowly. And over months and years, those minutes accumulate into something extraordinary. Extra energy, extra clarity, extra independence. That's the true long-term payoff. Living not just longer but younger, every single day. So now you know the truth. 3 minutes a day isn't just a ritual. It's a reset button for your entire body. Every breath, every gentle movement, every drop in stress hormones is slowing the clock in ways science once thought impossible. But here's what I haven't told you yet. While this ritual protects your telomeres and powers up your mitochondria, There's another hidden factor silently working against your cells every single night. It's something most seniors never suspect, yet it quietly strips away the progress you make during the day. In fact, researchers now believe this one overlooked habit could be undoing hours of repair while you sleep. And unless you fix it, no amount of breathing, stretching, or exercise can fully protect your body from accelerated aging. That's the mystery we'll unlock next. Because if 3 minutes can slow aging in your cells, imagine what happens when you also remove the one nighttime trigger that speeds it up. Stay with me, because the answer might be hiding in your own bedroom.